from his very early days being backstage at WWF. Can I say that? Well, it was the WWF back then. Sika brought his son, Joe, aka Roman Reigns, hoorah, where he was able to captivate so many wrestlers, according to Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan would never, ever, ever lie. Brother! But then he went to the gridiron. He had to overcome leukemia. He got into the family business. He was a leaky individual. He was 1/3 of Sierra Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield. I think I've heard of the Shield. I think there was somebody on the Lunatic Fringe. No, not that song, that very popular song, Lunatic Fringe. Oh, John Moxley is somewhere out there. And then he became the big dog. He said, this is my yard now. And then he had another leukemia diagnosis that was absolutely real and legit, despite what Dave fucking Meltzer said. That piece of shit. But he came back. He was ready to retire when safety measures were not implemented during the pandemic. And now he is a tribal chief. And he did a lot of good while he was becoming great, whether we like it or not. Hoorah! I'm John Rectum with my review WWE on A&E Biography, WWE Legends on Roman Reigns. This is the season finale, apparently. Only 6 episodes. Bit weird that. They're going to continue the other programs that they do, Rivals, and I believe Most Wanted Treasures. I'm not going to watch those. Why? Why would I bother with that? So I was looking forward to this. I wanted to see if I found out more about Roman Reigns, and really, it was about him lifting love up where it belongs, actually lifting up family, not picking up like a bowling ball, hopefully. We really don't need to see that. This is not that part of the South. In all seriousness, this actually was a pretty decent piece. Quite a bit of back padding. I will not and will never ever discount that Roman Reigns has put in the effort to become the guy. I will also say that I do not agree with everybody saying he is the greatest of all time. If you think he is, that's fine. That's totally fine. So, he feels he's the only constant. I do agree that he is presented like a main eventer, and I don't blame him for taking a shit pot full of money and making sure that he takes care of his family, his health. In fact, he has overcome leukemia twice, and he still takes medication for it, and he still gets out there and does that, and he still is seen as the guy, and I don't think he's going to be wrestling in another 3 years. In fact, I think by the time we get to Mania 42, he may have his last match, but who knows? So, the older footage of, like previous Manias and top talents, apparently this was executive produced by Paul Heyman. The wise man apparently decided to produce this, and by Christ, his fingerprints and other prints were all over this. So, the talking heads, not the same as it ever was, once in a lifetime. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Usos, Hogan, Triple H, Michael Cole, who does not have a face for HD television at all. Paul Heyman, obviously, Taker, Rollins, Cena, and Roman's family, so that was cool. The Wild Samoans footage, the fans pushing back against Roman. And look, I was one of them. I don't doubt the validity and the heart of the man himself, but the presentation, partly due to the pest, Vince McMahon, and also just the fact that he was unwilling to present Roman how he should have been. Had he been presenting Roman like this badass, this over-conquering boss, maybe the fans would have been more accepting of him sooner. So, nevertheless, Heyman is truly twice the man he used to be. Heyman is very good at these, though. He really, really is. How the greats can't measure up to Roman, and Hogan says, if I was in my prime, I'd like to face Roman. Good God, prime Hogan against prime Roman. The no-selling would be off the charts. So, Hogan winning the title, and then Rumble 92 stuff, Hogan, Taker, Rumble 92, Flair wins. Flair is a talking head here also. Shawn winning at Mania 12. No talk of Brett. No talk of Brett. No talk of my favorite of all time. In my opinion, the greatest of all time. At least up there on the Mount Rushmore for me. Austin winning at Mania 14. But whatever. The theme of this whole thing was you can't be something that you're not. You got to be real. You got to be who you are. Roman, he ain't the greatest, though. I'm sorry, he's not. Is he the greatest of this generation? Maybe. But whatever. Mania 39 kind of was a wraparound story here. You're you're not gonna, basically he's like, oh, this is what I've worked for. He wants to lift up his family. He wants to show how great he is. And yeah, he has worked hard. He's also been presented better. So, Jimmy Fallon is a terrible late night host. I just want to say that right there. I don't necessarily hate the guy, but I think his late night show is terrible. I've tried to watch it, especially when guests are on there that I want to see. And I just can't fucking stand listening to him. He's just not entertaining. So, he didn't know the tribal chief thing was going to be his dream. He was born in May of 1985, Pensacola. And Rosie, his brother, sorely missed. I did not realize until they got to his death a little bit later on that it had been nearly 7 years since he passed away. And I remember people saying that it should have been Roman instead, and I just want to once again say fuck y'all for saying that. Like, if Roman was a terrible person, I could understand that. Roman does not strike me as a terrible person. So, stupid Sam Roberts, that's all I'm going to say. Sam Roberts and Peter Rosenberg have to be the two worst talking heads they include on these things. Afa and Sika, what a duo they were, having to be smartened up because they were beating the shit out of people in, if I'm right, I believe it was the Cow Palace. And then, Sika and the mom divorced, basically because road life took over Sika's life. Sika, that Roman told the story about Sika saying, oh, you're going to clean that wall your whole life. He throws him in the deep end of the pool or in the water, and basically, he had to fight and claw and get his way out and everything. What if he had drowned? Wouldn't Sika have been brought up on child murder? Possibly. So, home BBQ footage, Yokozuna. Umanga, sorry, whenever Regal said it. I stuck in my head, no, his name's Umaga. Uso, footage, the family bond, and the college football stuff. I did not know that he played with Calvin Johnson. I did not know that. I remember Calvin Johnson. He was a beast of an athlete, and then injuries took hold. Father Time also took hold. But I remember Calvin Johnson. Back when I paid attention to football, that guy was great. So, first leukemia diagnosis, basically his NFL dream is done. And they keep bouncing back and forth in the timeline. We see November 2023 Saudi footage. I assume we're him traveling on a private jet. The leukemia diagnosis was tough on the family. He was able to be at there was that oral treatment thing, like pill or... It's a pill or something. Some form of a medication that he can take instead of chemo. And it's good. It's good. Whatever is not taxing on his body. Again, remember when Meltzer questioned the validity of that. Just want to say Dave Meltzer is a fucking goddamn idiot and a liar and a sack of shit. So, he was working for his sister. FCW got brought up. Tom Pritchard is very good in these. Wish they would have talked about FCW stuff a little bit more. But his dad told, Roman, and I know his name's Joe, but I don't know him personally. So, I might slip and say that, but I don't know him personally. So he said to Roman, you're going to wrestle. Dusty felt he'd be a big star. We saw a little bit of archival promo footage. And then the Shield. I've heard of the Shield. The Shield also are not even in the top 15 of greatest factions or trios of all time. Just saying. That doesn't mean that they're bad, but the overhyping of it. Yes, it was cool at first, and I hate to say it, but not even within a year, within like, I'd say, 8 months, they did not feel as special. I mean, they kind of did, but I mean, then again, you can water something down. The security did not stop the Shield from running in, which was kind of hilarious to me. Good job, security. They powerbombed Ryback. I just want to say Ryback, by the way. An example of utilizing somebody that really was never good enough to be in the spot that they had him in. And Rollins turns heel. Roman didn't want to be a face. Because they had him saying stuff like suffer and succotash. And that was stupid. And even as somebody that wasn't a Roman fan, I'm just like, what the fuck are they making him say? It was just so bad. The Rumble in Philly, the 2015, where Rock even held his hand up and looked up like, why are they booing me? Why are they booing me? These jabronis. And then Iron Sheik is like, break his back, make him humble. Mania 31, face off with Brock. Rollins cashed in. Big moment. Heyman talked to Roman backstage. Nobody carried you. You will have your time in the sun. And you could tell that Roman and Heyman respect each other, and that was something that permeated through this whole thing. Crown Jewel 2022 versus Logan Paul. I'm sorry, that's how long ago that was? What? I'm sorry? You're kidding? You're kidding that it was that long ago. It just, and I knew it wasn't last year because Logan beat Ray at the November Saudi show for the U.S. title. But you cannot tell me that it's already been over a year. God damn. What? I don't know why that makes me laugh so much. I don't know why it did. So we see rapping John Cena, how he became the guy, and the stars have to be made organically. That is something that was another theme in this, because it wasn't organic with Roman. That's not even that he wasn't putting in the effort. See, he can work, he's just not great. He's great with the right opponent. Mania 32 versus Triple H. Some say that event is still going on to this very day. Mania 33 versus Taker. This is my yard now on the next night. That was not a great offering from Taker because he needed surgery, and also his body was totally shot well before that match. Rosie meant a lot to him, and just 2 weeks after that, I think, Rosie passed away. It was heart failure or heart attack. And given the amount of weight he was carrying and also just the road life, unfortunately, he was in his 30s, I think, when he passed 30s, maybe around 40, but I think he was in his 30s. They talked about how he just wasn't being featured properly, and he just wasn't. They skipped over quite a bit of stuff in 2017. The stuff with Braun, I kind of wish they would have brought that up, because that was a pretty good feud. Even as much as Braun has basically exposed himself as just being kind of an idiot, and I really hope he doesn't come back, because he's going to be 40 years old with a fused neck. But that was a pretty cool feud. Mania 34 versus Brock, but Brock beat Roman. That was very shocking, and I was like, what? And I vividly remember, I was sitting with my best friend Chris, a.k.a. the Durbinator, and we're watching that, and it was before he actually got his current place. He was in another place about 1.5 miles down the road, and it was pretty shocking, pretty goddamn shocking. But he wanted to earn respect. He wouldn't stop. SummerSlam 2018, he beats Brock, and then shortly after that, they skipped over the Hell in a Cell 2018 match, where everybody, including popcorn vendors and janitors, climbed on top of the goddamn cell to distract from the fact that they were taking a nap in there. And it was a non-finish. Second leukemia diagnosis. He was back. He was back within a few months. He was able to catch it early, able to, clear it up. And I remember being shocked and thinking, I was like, okay, well, they wouldn't use this as a storyline. Roman definitely wouldn't. And then you find out that he actually suffered from it before. And then Ambrose, a.k.a. the future John Moxley, or the current John Moxley, took, because he was John Moxley before, took out Seth Rollins on that very night. He spent time with his family. I'm in remission, y'all. That was a big goddamn deal. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Big pop there. He beats Drew Mania 35, but then he just doesn't feel like things are clicking for him. Because he still can't get the fans' respect. The fans are actually booing him again at Mania 35. They might have been booing the fact that Mania 35 lasted for about 15 million years. Seriously, that was a really long event. And then the pandemic hit. And he was going to retire because there weren't safety measures put in. And gee, I wonder who was in charge of the safety measures. It was Vince. Vince no-sold it. Like he no-sells NDAs and everything. And business deals with Stu Hart and Mike LaBelle. So after safety measures are implemented and he has some time to heal, relax, he comes back to SummerSlam 2020. He unites with Heyman, and that was a big goddamn deal. This is during the pandemic era where, dear God, I never want to revisit that shit again. And they kind of bounced around a bunch because the Bloodline was starting to form and had formed by this point to an extent. He stacked Edge and Bryan at Mania 37. He said, a lot of people would crack under the pressure, but for me it was Tuesday, Roman. The event was on Sunday. Oh, it was Tuesday. Oh. He's embarrassing again, folks. And I was enjoying it, but we're really... I'm skipping over quite a bit of stuff just because really a lot of this is just a timeline bouncing around and talking, about his health, and his health seems to be good, and that's very, very good. But the Bloodline stuff has been done to death, and I don't really feel that needs to be talked about. So he's trying to build for the future. Mania 38 versus Bork, the unification, where it had to be cut off because he hurt his arm. The whole acknowledge me thing. Cena, returns at, I believe, Money in the Bank 2011. He returned and beat CM Punk. No, he returned to 2021. Face off against Roman at SummerSlam 2021. They showed Solo being introduced at Clash at the Castle where Drew didn't beat him. And that's where I think this whole thing kind of jumped the shark, even though it was hilarious given what happened in Mania 39. SummerSlam 2022 were, again, bouncing back and forth. The tractor stuff, where Brock was having fun. And then introducing Sammy to the Bloodline. He's just not feeling very oozy. That was pretty good stuff. And at Rumble 2023, where the audience wasn't turned up, that reaction almost blew the, the roof off the goddamn arena. The Montreal stuff they skipped over. Wish they would have shown that. Mania 39, he beat Cody. Money in the Bank 2023, right after we celebrate 1,000 years of Roman, and Walt Disney is just rubbing his hands. And he wants to lift up his family like a bowling ball. Hopefully not. That's incest, and it's gross. But he wants to leave this place better than he found it. And you know what? He has shown himself to be the guy. And Hogan just kept praising him, like Hogan thinks that he could have been able to hang with Roman. Maybe 1987, 1988 Hogan, it would have been interesting. But if you would take a 1991 Hogan, 92 Hogan, and put him against Roman, oh boy, that would have been interesting. Decent enough documentary. I didn't have really a lot to say about this beyond a few bullet points. No, I don't think Roman is the greatest of all time. I think Roman is good. I think Roman is great at times. But no, I don't think he's the greatest of all time. But if you do, that's fine. But that ends WWE on A&E Biography for the season. And I don't know if I'm going to review next season if there's another season, because apparently the ratings are down for this. And who else are they going to do biographies on? There are still a lot that fans are going to tune in for. So yeah, it'll be interesting. That being said, we are on the road to WrestleMania as of this recording. Let me know your thoughts on this particular biography in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.